Meeting of the Woonsocket School Committee for March 22nd, 2023 to order at 7 p.m. Mr. Perrier, roll call, please.
Chairman Bourget.
Here.
Vice Chairman Burke.
Here.
Ms. Costa is absent. Ms. Kapiskas.
Here.
And Mr. Leclerc.
Here. Would you please join me in standing for a moment of silence in the pledge? And tonight, let's keep in mind Kim Blaze, who's recovering in the hospital. And so let's keep her in mind tonight. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask Ms. Maiello if you would please come and introduce yourself and this great cadre of students.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jen Maiello. I'm the theater and dance teacher at Woonsocket High School. You may have heard that we've been working all year long on our production of Hairspray this year. It is May 4th, 5th, and 6th, coming really soon. I know I say it all the time. I say I get the best bunch of kids. It's going to be the greatest show ever. But there's a reason why I have not done Hairspray. And everyone has been asking, why have you done Hairspray? Because it's a beast. It's a massive show. But I have to tell you, these kids, and we're probably down almost 20, they are so passionate, so excited. We get done a number, they clap for themselves. They're so excited about it. Besides our students, we also have about 45 alumni joining us in the show.
Wow.
We have 7 faculty members in the show. I don't know if you remember Uncle Fester last year. Chris Depot is joining us as Edna Turnblad. So just that in itself is worth coming to see. But again, the show is May 4th, 5th, and 6th. If any of you want tickets, please just email me. I will be glad to leave them at the door. I will reserve seats for you. And I also just want to say thank you so much for the support. You have always been so supportive of my program. The school committee, you've always sent ads in and personal donations. I so appreciate it. And I know how fortunate I am because Woonsocket is one of the only schools that has a program during the day, not just a little after school thing. It's part of our curriculum. And I think that when you see the kids and the passion that they have, the program will speak for itself. So without further ado, remember, minus about 20 kids, and we're in a tiny little space. This is the finale. You can't stop the beat.
Yeah, start the beat. Sounds like.
Oh, Al.
Yeah, I know.
It's Al.
That was so rude.
Al.
It's Al.
Al.
He said, yeah.
We're gonna sing your CEO of the year.
This doesn't happen at the show.
Ocean of the sun in the sky, you can wander and you roll, but I'm never apart. You can try
Moving like a shaking on a Saturday night. So I'm gonna shake it, shimmy, and follow my mind today. You can't stop the motion of the ocean or the rain from the love. You can try to stop the paradise from dreaming of, but you can't stop the rhythm. I feel love today. You can't stop the beat. Why does it Saturday? One, two, three, four. Everything's all right. Man, woman like a shaking on a Saturday night. I'm gonna shake a shimmy and follow my mind today. You can't stop the motion of the ocean or the rain from the flood. You can try to stop the paradise from dreaming of, but you can't stop the rhythm. I'm in love to stay. You can't stop the beat. You can't stop the beat. You can't stop the beat. Tracy!
Yeah!
Wow.
You know, this is what I'm gonna say. Give me a good fashioned old CD. That would not have happened. Oh gosh, honestly, you guys.
Nice.
Woo! It's live theater. That's what you don't stop. You cannot stop, and you guys did. Oh, well, I promise that won't happen because I will not be in charge. Thank God. Anyway, I want to just introduce Amber, Mr. Spritzer.
Hi, my name is Anara, but I play Amber Von Tussle in the show. Please, please, please come watch us on May 3rd, 4th, 5th, and
4th, 5th, and 6th.
4th, 5th, and 6th. I'm so sorry. It'd mean a lot to us if you came. We worked very hard on this for several months, and we would just appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Satya.
That was good.
I play President Spritzer, the president of the Ultra Clutch Hairspray. And I'd really appreciate if you guys came May 4th, 5th, 6th to come see us.
And thank you for letting us perform here. It's a really great honor. So thank you.
Good job.
That was absolutely fantastic. And you can bet your lives that we'll be there.
Ooh.
Next, I believe we have a presentation from the Woonsocket High's Future Business Leaders of America.
I think we're approved of the trip.
So, dude.
Yeah. A fact to follow.
Definitely.
Hello and good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Aruni Sitapon. I'm more commonly known as Allie around these parts. I'm currently the Future Business Leaders of America chapter president at Woonsocket High School, and this is my senior year.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dejanay Francis. I am the junior class president at Woonsocket High School, and I'll pass it to the next person.
Hello, everyone. My name is Miriam Kaba, and I'm a junior at Woonsocket High School, Woonsocket Career Technical School. I'm the vice president of this year's FBLA Woonsocket chapter.
I'm going to take this off the mic so it's a little less awkward. So thank you so much for having us here today and allowing us this space to share with you some of our thoughts around the National Leadership Conference happening in June of this year. So for those of you who don't know, recently, on March 9th, the Woonsocket High School FBLA chapter went to State Leadership Conference at Johnson & Wales University. There we had several of our members placed, including those of us here. Miriam, would you like to begin?
Yep. Again, my name is Miriam Kaba, and I'm the vice president of this year's FBLA chapter. This year, I placed 3rd place in sales presentation and 2nd place in journalism, which is an objective test. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dejanay Francis. I ended up going into public speaking, so I had to create a speech and public speak in front of the judges, and I ended up placing 1st place.
Wow.
Again, my name is Allie. I placed in all 3 competitions that I participated in this year: 3rd place in advertising, 3rd place in business communications, and 1st place in website design, where I was able to design a website for a client. I would also like to add on that note that I received a perfect score from both of my judges for website design. So for those of you who don't know, my classmate Miriam and I, we were able to go to nationals last year in Chicago, and it was a life-changing experience.
Definitely to add on, definitely was a life-changing experience. I usually don't leave the small city of Woonsocket very often, so going to Chicago was an experience in itself. I was able to see a new world outside of my own. I was also able to learn really useful skills that will apply to my future, such as networking. I didn't really know how important it was to talk to people I don't know, and how it's important to know what an interview pitch is and know what an elevator pitch is. I was able to use that at FBLA. And lastly, I was able to learn leadership skills that I applied coming back to my FBLA chapter this year. And lastly, one big thing I really learned at NLC at Chicago was what FBLA really is. We are community, and opportunities like this to go to nationals help strengthen our community.
So opportunities that National Leadership Conference provides is equipping us with skills to prepare us for the future. Now, this includes being in a space of like-minded individuals who want to further our community and further the world that we live in, and just being amongst a group of motivated individuals who share the same ideas with you. The second opportunity that National Leadership Conference provides is an opportunity to explore a world beyond ours. As Miriam said, it granted us that opportunity to go visit somewhere that we had never been, to go explore on our own, to learn what it means to travel and plan your own trip and plan where do you want to go, especially in a short amount of time, which is something that we have to learn in any part in your life. The third opportunity that it provides is for us to further our skills and interest in business. As you can see, we've participated in a number of events, including web design, including public speaking, including journalism. And some of those things on the surface may not look like it's connected, but it shows us that business is everywhere and it is intersectional in the fields that we all work in. And furthermore, lastly, it provides us networking opportunities. I currently hold a job with a digital marketing agency called Each Day Communications, owned by a New York Times ghostwriter. And through my experience going to Chicago and being able to compete and getting that experience, that was the only way I could have gotten this job, by networking, by handing out my business card. We met people from all over the country, including Kentucky. There was people from Ohio, and we joked that Ohio doesn't exist, so that was cool. But it was just really great to be able to connect with other chapters across the country and be able to share those ideas.
So due to us placing in the top 3, we have an opportunity to go to Atlanta, Georgia this year. That's where the National Leadership Conference will be at. It's going to be June 27th to the 30th.
Before I talk about the cost of nationals, I would also like to add on what Ali had said. We got to meet a lot of people from different states. So here we have a lanyard. So we were able to trade pins with kids from different states. See here. Places like North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia. Sorry, I'm getting this untangled. She's gonna go around with the lanyard so I can touch on the prices of NLC this year.
Very nice. I like it.
That's impressive.
Okay, so NLC registration this year will cost $195 per student. The cost for airfare will be approximately $500 per student. The hotel will cost approximately $500 per student. And our ground transportation will be $30, leaving us at approximately $1,225 per student this year.
So to the members of the school committee, to the members of the Woonsocket Education Department, we have a call to action for you. We ask you to invest in the Woonsocket High School Future Business Leaders of America. So last year, Mary and I were granted that great opportunity to go because of the XQ grant covering our travel costs. And we were so fortunate for that. And that has changed our lives. I did not think that I was going to be able to do something like that in high school. So being granted that opportunity was amazing. And it made me so excited and so motivated this year to go to nationals. So Miriam, I know you had a couple thoughts, and Dejanay.
So like she said, I'm Dejanay. Personally, I feel like public speaking was something that I really struggled with due to being president and emceeing pep rallies and actually like having that courage to go up in front of people. I really like learned that public speaking is essential. That's why I really competed, and I'm super, super happy that I ended up winning first place. My kind of personal and background story, I work, I am first generation, and my family in the past were also refugees. So definitely the first person to, keep the family going. I have a lot of siblings. I have 18 cousins. I was kind of handed the torch, and it was just up to me to really show them that, like, this is what life is about. I had never really had a role model, just examples of who I didn't want to be. I also work at Boys and Girls Club as a receptionist. I recently won Youth of the Year for Boys and Girls Club of Northern Rhode Island. I have my state competition May 18th, where I'll be going against other Boys and Girls Clubs, and then I'll be going to regionals and nationals. I just really want to point out that I feel as though I have a lot of kids who look up to me, and learning and experiencing these type of things like FBLA really gives me the opportunities to learn more, but also show them that they can do this too.
Thank you, Dejanay. So, hi everyone again. My name is Miriam. Just to talk a little bit about my personal background. Currently, right now, I'm working 2 jobs, and I help provide for me, my younger sister, and I help my mom along the way with things she needs as well. So, without the XQ fund, I wouldn't have been able to go to Chicago, as like financing and struggling with money has been like a big thing for me. So, with just having the opportunity to go to Chicago, like, I was able to see so many skills and meet so many different people that I wouldn't be able to meet here in Woonsocket. And honestly, it taught me there's a world bigger outside of my own. And I am usually the person to take a big, a big grasp at the opportunities I'm given. Like I said, we're all students at Woonsocket High School. We're all at the Career Technical School. So we're used to taking the opportunities that we're given. So this would be a really big opportunity for us. And yeah.
So this is your opportunity to invest in some of your students in the long term too, because we all work with younger students here in the community. I teach, I know you're involved with Boys and Girls Club, Mary, part of CCF. We do.
I work after school at Kevin K. Coleman.
So we do so many things here in the community, and we want to be what helps inspire younger minds to go for it no matter what the cost is, no matter what it looks like, no matter if it may scare you or not. And we're giving you this opportunity to invest in your students who want to represent our community out there in Atlanta, who don't typically go out there. So please invest in us. Please give us this opportunity to go to Chicago, not Chicago, oh my goodness. Please give us this opportunity to go to Atlanta. But last of all, I would like to thank you all for your continued support. None of this would be possible without you. None of this would be possible without our principal, Mr. Guillot. And lastly, none of this would be possible without our advisor, Ms. Croft. Thank you so much for your endless support and for believing in us always. Thank you.
I also want to say thank you for the countless support that I've received from the Woonsocket Education Department and in our school. When I first was announced a finalist for the Transform RI Scholarship, the school has shown endless support, and so has the community of Woonsocket. I remember not too long ago, I was actually here talking about my TRIS Scholarship Award, and you guys have been nothing but supportive, and I'm so thankful for that. And like Ali said, I would like to thank Mr. Gill for his countless support and hard work. And I would also like to thank Ms. Croft. Without her, none of this would be happening right now. And she's such an amazing advisor. And I'm so thankful for all the hard work she does for the Woonsocket chapter and the Woonsocket students in general.
I would like to thank, I know Dr. McGee isn't here today. He recently just wrote me a recommendation for Youth of the Year, so I definitely want to thank him. I've definitely noticed the initiative that the Woonsocket District and Department has been making on nonviolence initiatives and stuff like that, so I'm very, very appreciative of you guys. And yeah.
So lastly, we did bring our awards here, just, as an extra little nudge, nudge. So here's a tangible item to see that we are capable of so many things. So we're going to pass these around to show you guys. Thank you. Yes. Just grab all of them. Yeah. Just grab all of them. It's okay. It's okay.
It's very cool.
Al wants one.
Oh, those are sharp. I like that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's neat.
How many of you qualified for finals? Just the three of you?
Yes,
Just
the
a-
other ones,
and
they
one-
ended up getting 4th and 5th place. So it's usually the top few that ends up going to nationals, and then if the person in your category ends up dropping out,
Then
nationals, you
so it could be four then, huh? So you're telling me I got to find money for four people? You're telling me? Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, yeah.
Good evening.
That's great.
Yeah.
This is
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Great job.
Like it.
Congratulations. That's really
Excellent,
awesome.
excellent.
Fantastic.
Again,
Yeah.
wonderful. You
Yeah.
guys, good luck going to Atlanta.
Always a pleasure.
Fan- Yep, good luck with all this. That's fantastic.
Good luck going down to Atlanta. You do great.
Look at that.
It's a done deal. Yeah, I saw everything. Thank you. Yeah. Oh yeah, one more. Yeah. Hold on.
Can you give her a check now?
Here, let's get it. Got it. Got it.
I love it.
All right. Okay. I'll remember. I'll remember now. Thank you.
Well, it's going to come to us for approval, so it's no big, we've got this. Again, great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, thank you.
Nice. Now we'll go into good and welfare, and for anyone addressing the school committee during good and welfare, please begin with your name and address. Your comments shall be no more than 5 minutes of speaking time and should be in good decorum. Please be aware that the committee cannot respond to you during good and welfare, but we may direct you to an appropriate member of the administration team or may meet with you directly after the meeting for further discussion. Does anybody want to address the school committee? Seeing and hearing none, we'll go into recognitions and announcements. Mr. Perry, are you handling the end of year calendar?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm not. The end of year calendar? No.
Is it you, Mr. Notoriani?
I
You've got this,
No,
right?
no, it's certainly not me. It's just, I don't, I believe the end of the account will be discussed at the next meeting, Chairman.
Well, that's well done. Now we'll go into the
Mr.
approval.
Chairman, though, Mr. Blaze sent us all a Google copy of the
Yes,
end of the year calendar.
Right.
She said it was fluid, so there may be some additions, but we did see something already.
But obviously, some things may change, so we need to get an update to make sure that the list we got, Mr. Burke, is
Sure.
accurate. But we'll depend on Mr. Notoriani for that, right? Yes. Okay. Next, I'll make a motion to approve the March 22nd, 2023 open meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Does anyone have any changes, amendments to the minutes?
Nope.
Mr. Perrier, roll call, please.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Now we'll go into the consent agenda. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the consent agenda. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Does anyone want to take any item out of the consent agenda?
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc?
I just want to ask in relative to purchases and transfers, the Apex, what was that all about? That's 400 and change.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great question, Mr. Leclerc. That is for hotspots, and we also have money for servers as well. The thing with that is the PO has been issued for the full amount. The district is only responsible for 10% of that. So we will not be paying full price. These are E-rate related projects. So we will be getting a 90% reimbursement on those items.
Yeah, because it said local funds, so I was curious.
Yes, that's correct.
All right.
But we have to go out for the whole.
Yes,
have
we
to-
do. We need to issue the PO for the full amount
Okay.
to kind of constitute the purchase. But again, we will only be paying for 10% of that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Perrier, roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Are you handling the superintendent's report, Mr. Perrier? It's personnel matters?
I'm just going to turn this over to Ms. Dargan. I believe she can give us an update on this.
Good evening. So on the personnel list, tonight we have no appointed positions. We do have supplementals. We have a long-term substitute filling in for medical leaves. We have a newly appointed softball coach for the middle school. And then we have some separations as well as an unpaid leave of absence. So no change to our current staffing numbers, and the rest are routine.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions?
Nope. Good.
Okay. Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the superintendent's report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke and Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll go into the school subcommittee reports, and I'll ask Ms. Kepiscus to give us the CLAC update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The CLAC met on April 6, 2023. Under old business, we discussed the proposed changes to the round graduation requirements with no updates. I again solicited whether anybody might be interested in taking over leadership of the CLAC, just my usual advertisement. We had a presentation from Linda Brunetti, Family Support Specialist at the Autism Project, as April is Autism Awareness Month. The Special Education Department was able to organize a speaker for our meeting from the Autism Project. Linda explained she's a parent of a 29-year-old son with level 1 autism, previously known as Asperger's, with social skills limitations. Some of us may know him. His name is Adam.
Ms. Kepiscus, you may want to speak into your mic.
I cannot reach it, Mr. Chair. Is that okay?
Yes.
So the connections made at the Autism Project are tapped. She and her son were able to connect up with the necessary services to help him become a community-involved young man that Adam Brunetti is today. If nothing else, TAP can provide a friendly voice to a parent who has been there, from a parent who has been there. Some upcoming events. TAP are their Imagine Walk on 4/30, April 30th at Goddard Park. The event is a fundraiser for summer camp scholarships, but it's also a family fun day for the sometimes lonely life of a disabled child and their family. The summer camp offered by the TAP is Camp Wanna Go Again, named by their participants, which will now run for 3 weeks and is staffed by professionals who are trained and able to make a fun summer camp experience for special needs children. The application is on their website, the Autism Project, nospaces.org. Do not let cost stop you. Ripon is also offering summer camp scholarships, not just to the Autism Project summer camp, but any summer camp. And there's no reason you cannot get both a TAP and a Ripon scholarship. May be able to get more than 1 week that way. TAP has also started some adult programming in support of social skills. Ms. Brunetti runs 2 of those support groups, one for grandparents and one called Pep Talk, which is just beginning. She will share the PDFs for the TAP programs with me, and when I do, I will share them with the CLAC membership. She also told us to look for family-friendly programming, autism-friendly, programming happening in some 16 local libraries across the state. These programs include sensory programming, story time, and/or playtime, and some have even developed teen and young adult programs. Under new business, we went over ESY information. Ms. Morrell advised ESY will run from July 5th, 2023 to August 4th, 2023. Teachers are starting meetings with parents to see if their children qualify using guidelines suggested by RIDE. Parents should let the district know if their children will qualify. Who qualify will not be attending ESY, so we can adjust personnel needs accordingly. If you have not been contacted but believe your child should qualify, parents should reach out to the case manager to see if their child will qualify. As has been the case in the previous summers during COVID, the elementary school buildings will also have summer programming in conjunction with the WED's community partners. We talked about facilitated IEPs, which is a new concept to Rhode Island. It's a concept which is taking place in about 40 states, including Massachusetts. The concept suggests having a facilitator who's trained in special education law attend the IEP meetings so as to provide explanations both to parents and new teachers so that you can level the playing field for the purposes of the development and implementation of an IEP. I shared my notes from a recent presentation given by David Cienko, who's the director of the OSCAS office at RIDE. And they were attached to my minutes. I believe they were shared with all of the school committee members. There was a discussion as to whether or not WED currently has the functional equivalent with this, with Ripon's involvement in our community, which is certainly a bonus to parents for sure. We also discussed Ripon's 2023 legislative initiatives. Ripon now has a policy analyst, Mark Gray, who's helping push policies of particular interest to children and families that Ripon serves. Among the legislation they're pushing, 1, changes to the IEP process to again require parental signature signed consent to change an IEP. 2, mandated sharing of written support documentation such as evaluations with parents prior to the IEP. The time frame is under discussion, whether it be 48 hours or 7 days. And 3rd, parents' right to observe groups or classrooms or programs where their child is to be placed in a new setting, as many districts object to this based on privacy concerns of the other participants. Members were encouraged to follow the progress of these bills on Bill Tracker through the General Assembly. The bill numbers are on a handout previously provided to the membership via email. Dr. McGee reminded all that the district strategic plan is underway and on track to be completed in time for the presentation to the school committee at their second meeting in May. Nonviolence Institute continues its work, and our first student cohort at the high school has been trained, and there are plans afoot to train a second cohort at the high school and a cohort at the middle school. Our stage 2 construction plan has been submitted to RIDE, and we provided supplemental information as requested by RIDE. We now wait to hear back from RIDE on their final financial commitment to the project. Upon return from spring break, the district will begin to meet with our community-based partners about the summer programs to be offered in our elementary schools. The chair reminded everyone that the next school committee meeting is tonight, April 2nd, here in the cafeteria. Among the members' comments, Paul Bourget was present and asked that all staff be reminded to keep, especially as we start these end-of-year calendars, to keep in mind the needs of our special needs students and their right to participate in end-of-year events, whether it be honors programs, graduation, proms, or anything of the like. The meeting was adjourned at 6:50, and that concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kepiscus. Any questions for her? Then I'll make a motion to receive and place on file a Sea Lake update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we'll move on to the Finance Subcommittee update. Mr. Perrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On March 22nd at 3 p.m., the Woonsocket Finance Subcommittee met at Hamlet Middle School right here in this building. There were several items on the docket for discussion. First and foremost, we had a review of our ESSER II expenditures. We're currently on pace to spend our $12 million by the end of this fiscal year, June 30th. Which will allow us to then transfer into ESSER III expenditures, rounding them out for next fiscal year and closing that out. So I'm happy to report that we are on pace for our ESSER II expenditure spend through, and we won't be returning any money, unspent money at this time. We also discussed our OPEB account, which are other post-employment benefits. As this committee may know or remember, we did invest money about 4 years ago in mutual funds. We've returned about $175,000 so far to date, which I think has been a pretty good investment over the years. We also discussed the potential of beginning to tap into that in upcoming fiscal years for paying down retiree health benefits, because that is one of the approved expenditures for this account. As we get closer to this fiscal year, we're going to explore that a little bit more, and we potentially start to use some of that money to pay down some of our current expenses. I gave an update on our capital projects. We have two rather large projects going right now. Our 5-year capital plan, which has been submitted to the Department of Education for approval. We did receive some feedback. It was about 30 questions that we needed to answer. We were able to turn those answers in at the beginning of last week, and we are now awaiting a response to those. So I believe we are moving through that process well. We're still awaiting the final approval for that, but everything looks encouraging at this point. We also discussed our potential partnership with Rise Mayoral Academy. Right now, as you all know, we did submit a stage 1 on everyone's behalf. We're still investigating sites to potentially do a joint partnership at this time. Nothing's been fleshed out, and as that information comes out, it will be reported to the building committee and then the school committee as to what's happening there. The next few items, they were all actually discussed at the last school committee. This report was supposed to be given at the last school committee. Just didn't make the agenda. We talked about the non-union employee contracts, which the school committee approved at the last meeting. We also talked about the new SEL administrator position, as well as the expanding our current MLL position to 12 months. All 3 of those items were approved by the school committee at the last meeting, so I don't think there's any more warranted discussion on that. And then finally, the last item we touched on the finance subcommittee was new energy contracts. We were able to go out and secure a better rate for electricity starting in June. This rate, if we had it this year, would have saved the district approximately $45,000 in electricity costs. So again, a savings that's nothing to sneeze at, and we look forward to getting this contract started June 1st. That's when it'll go live, and then reaping the savings afterwards. Additionally, one other thing kind of goes hand in hand with that is that I was notified on Monday that Woonsocket Education Department was nominated for a Lead by Example Clean Energy Award, and this has to do with the work that Mr. Toriani is doing in all of our elementary schools right now as far as the LED lighting goes. So I'd like to congratulate him on the job that he's done with that, and I think that's a great honor for the district. And they'll be meeting with the governor at the end of April, and there'll be a little glad handing happening there. So I'd just like to thank him for that right there.
Thank you for putting the lights on, Mr. Notoriani.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think Mr. Perrier's, this is Mr. Perrier's project. He's just being kind. Yeah, no, this is Mr. Perrier's project. He's saving us a lot of money, and the lights look fantastic. I'll take credit for when they dimmed out,
Yeah.
okay? But yes, aside from that.
And that was the finance subcommittee report.
Thank you, Mr. Perrier. Now, we've got a meeting for the next Finance Committee is the 19th.
Next Wednesday, and then the following Wednesday after that. So we're going to have a couple in a row here. We'll be discussing ESSER 3 at the next meeting,
Right.
and then we'll be finalizing the budget the meeting after that.
To come to the school committee.
Absolutely. And that budget will be presented to the school committee at the next meeting for approval. We'll turn it into the city, and I'm hopeful to have another joint meeting with the city council and the school committee at some point in May to discuss our ask and kind of move forward from there.
Excellent. Any comments, questions from Mr. Perrier? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the Finance Subcommittee report. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we'll go to the Curriculum Subcommittee update, and I'll turn it over to Ms. Kapiskas.
Would you like me to do it, Mr. Chair?
It's all yours.
We had the shortest curriculum subcommittee meeting on history on March 27th at 3 p.m. After calling the meeting to order, the minutes for the February 27th meeting were approved without objection. We had a discussion of the teen dating violence curriculum. DG DeBella reviewed the current curriculum used in the district to instruct with regard to dating violence, including cyber safety for parents, becoming an approachable adult, and teen dating violence 101. This curriculum is presented by Sojourner House in compliance with state law pursuant to an MOU entered into in 2021 to cover through 2024. However, there is a holdup at present as Sojourner's grant is currently funded from a different source, and they are awaiting approval from the Office of Violence Against Women, OVW, of the teen dating violence curriculum only. All others are good to go and currently being used. All curriculum and presentations made are standards-based and research-based. The program also complies with Rhode Island's Lindsay Burke law. The focus remains on middle schools and high schools as Sojourner House works with the WED, but they also presented at Savoy and other elementary schools in district would like to see presentations as well. No vote was needed or taken. The next meeting is scheduled for April 24th at 3 p.m. in the Woonsocket Middle School, room 124. The meeting was adjourned at 3:17 p.m. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Kapiskas. Any questions, comments? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the Curriculum Subcommittee update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, I'll ask Vice Chair Burke to give us the Health and Wellness Subcommittee update.
Mrs. Kapiskas, you can take a break on this one.
Thank you.
Take care of it. The Health and Wellness Subcommittee met on March 27th. We approved our minutes, our past minutes, and we had a lot of great items that we discussed at present and made presentations on. First of all, we had an update from the URI SNAP Ed program, which had been working with the fifth grade at the Globe Park Elementary School. Joanna from URI presented to us two families who came, Jacob and Bia. Both their families came to our presentation. Jacob had won the contest in the fifth grade for the best recipe. And his recipe was a broccoli and chicken stir fry. All right. B had done a special rice recipe from his home country of Liberia. So that was also very interesting. Sodexo provided for our nourishment little copies of a little taste of the broccoli and chicken stir fry. So it was great to see this program. This is the second year in a row that URI SNAP Ed program has been involved in Woonsocket schools. If you remember, they worked last year with Harris and this year with Globe Park. So hopefully there'll be somewhere else next year. That was very good. Our next item dealt with Sodexo. We looked at the meal charging policy and some of the challenges that we still have today. But we also ended with some sense of hope that the General Assembly may be changing the funding formula for schools. That way we do not have to rely on free and reduced lunch applications and to deal with funding. And if the Assembly changes what's being presented right now, we may be able to offer free lunches throughout the district as we did during the pandemic. We also heard from the Rhode Island Healthy Schools Coalition, which talked about that same issue, that right now there's an endeavor, the healthy school meals for all. The school coalition is really supporting this change in the law. So we'll see what happens before the assembly concludes this summer. We also had an update from the Woonsocket Prevention Coalition. There's a group of students are meeting every Tuesday afternoon at the Woonsocket Prevention Coalition's offices right next to Chan's on that street, Main Street? Main Street.
Yep.
All right, every Tuesday afternoon. So it's been pretty good. And the students have also put together several videos, obviously dealing with trying to find ways to prevent various types of abuse, opioids, drugs, alcohol, so on and so forth. Finally, we had an update from Project Aware, which talked about, supported the idea that the schools, now the Woonsocket Education Department is working with the Nonviolent Institute. Also, we have coming up on May 3rd at 9:30 in the high school, we have the Mental Health Awareness Kickoff Assembly. So that'll be a very important day. And also that Saturday, May 6th, we're also going to have a health and wellness fair put on by the Woonsocket Education Department, and that'll be held in, I believe, this cafeteria. And pretty much that's it. Our next meeting will be May 22nd.
Thank you very much, Vice Chair Burke.
Thank you.
Any questions, comments for him?
Mr. Burke, I actually have an addition for you. Just this week, I found out that the deadline for CEP applications has been extended to August 15th because of the potential funding formula changes. So RIDE is going to give us a chance to see those changes. And then if we choose to, we can still move forward with CEP for next fiscal year. So I think that's.
Explain to what CEP means.
It's the Community Eligibility Program. We no longer will need to collect free and reduced lunch forms to make determinations on food. Everybody in the district will be fed a meal regardless of income, regardless of any status at all. And it's something that, quite frankly, I'm hopeful that we can do. I know the real problem we've always had is that free and reduced lunch applications have always been tied to the funding formula. And that's what the state legislation is looking to fix this coming session. So I think with this fix in place, we're going to be able to move to that and offer everybody free meals. That's really what the takeaway here is.
Do you think the fact that they've extended the deadline, that they have an optimistic?
I think absolutely. I think 100%. I think they are optimistic something's going to happen, and they want people to be able to take advantage of this right away. So I really see no other reason why they would extend it out unless they weren't fairly certain that something was going to happen.
Great.
That's good news.
Yeah, very good news. And that's my report there, Chairman.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions?
No.
I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the Health and Wellness Subcommittee update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Next, we'll go on to the Poly Subcommittee update. Even though my name's there, I'll turn this over to Ms. Kepiscus and Vice Chair Burke.
I gave you a break, if you don't mind.
There you go, Lynn.
Speech number 3. The Policy Subcommittee met on March 28th, 2023 at 4 p.m. here in this building. After approval of our minutes at our last meeting, the first policy we discussed was the anti-hazing policy. The athletic director, Ms. Giordano, was kind enough to be present and advised that the league, which governs all interscholastic games, now requires coaches in the second year, Tier 2, to take hazing training as part of their licensing. And all team captains and players are required to take sportsmanship training, which includes hazing training. A few minor changes were suggested to the draft policy. Students who believe they've been hazed or witnessed hazing are directed to report to a trusted WED employee. Language was added to mandate that WED employees to then report what they were told to the building principal or other program supervisor, who would then report it to the principal. Number 2, as drafted, the policy warns that employees, volunteers, coaches, and contractors who knowingly permitted hazing will suffer consequences. Language would be added to include those same parties who actually participate in the hazing as opposed to just permitting it. Upon my motion, second by Dr. McGee, with no objection, the policy with these amendments was directed to go forward to the full school committee and is up for discussion tonight. Number 3, there was discussion approval of the drug/smoke-free school policy. The title has been amended to the tobacco-free/nicotine-free school policy based on state law. It prohibits both the usual tobacco products as well as vaping products of all sorts. Drugs are addressed in a different policy and codes of conduct contained in the handbooks. It was noted that the punishments and penalties, which were the sticking point in prior discussions, had been removed and will be addressed as protocols appropriate to the situation. That is, they should be different depending on the age of the student, for example. The plan is to look to the Blackstone Valley Prevention Coalition for presentations as well as educational programming that may be imposed as a result of violations of the policy. Upon my motion and Mr. Burke's second with no objection, the policy is sent to the full school committee for discussion and approval and is on our agenda tonight. The third policy we discussed was the travel field trip policy. This policy generated the most discussion, much to my surprise. After much discussion, the decision was made to amend the guidelines as drafted so as to return to the guidelines used now. That is, day trips on a school day must get the superintendent's approval due to the state's compulsory school attendance laws, and only overnight trips will require approval from the full school committee. No trips planned by any WD employee for overnight travel, for example, trips to Europe over spring break, shall be approved by the school committee under any circumstances in order to try to limit WD's liability. Council will draft new language for review on these changes. Dr. McGee raised the issue of an educator who declines to take a particular child with challenging behaviors and whether it is possible to create some consistent standards by which that decision is made. Principals present indicated that they will generally require a parent to attend under these circumstances. I was one of those parents. It was clarified that students who are suspended in or out of school cannot participate in school travel. There are also issues about whether the behaviors are a manifestation of the child's disability, posing IDEA issues. The discussion then turned to minimum adult student ratios for field trips. Ms. Codera and Dr. McGee clarified that no field trips are approved without sufficient ratios. So they think this is a non-issue as such trips would never reach his desk or the school committee. The discussion then shifted toward BCI checks for participants in field trips as chaperones. Dr. McGee makes the final call on questionable BCIs, but the bottom line is you cannot prevent a parent with an unacceptable BCI from being present in the same location as a student field trip, but you can prevent them from being near the students, for example, in the capacities of chaperone. Due to the many questions and issues raised, this policy will be held for further amendment and discussion at the next meeting on May 3rd, and will be the first policy on that agenda. Then there was a discussion about possibly creating a new policy allowing expanded availability of naloxone, I always say it wrong, or Narcan in schools. And it was a question of policy versus protocols. I received a call from an administrator at the high school, Volk School, looking to expand the availability of Narcan beyond the nurse's office, as that location is sometimes unavailable when minutes might matter. I brought the question to Dr. McGee, who discussed it with Thunder Mist, who is also in favor of this expansion. They indicate that there is a system where Narcan can be made available in public areas of all schools in emergency boxes, much like AED devices. There's no risk of misuse as Narcan offers no high or other benefit. It cannot hurt someone if taken in error other than an unpleasant experience. Council was asked if we need a policy, and her answer was a guarded no, as RIDE and the Department of Health currently both have policies per state law on opioid antagonists like Narcan. She will check into this further, but suggested we could consider a policy to permit the expanded presence, but protocols as to its location and use. Donna Codere asked that the elementary schools be included, as it might be needed for parents, but hopefully not students. So she indicated she is having issues in the elementary school level with students vaping and posting videos on social media. I have to add in a little addendum to this. They did a little research after the meeting, and by state law, Narcan can only be administered by the school nurse. So that's going to be a problem in this policy going forward, unless that law changes. Number 6, we had discussion and approval to rescind or update another section of the old policy manual. This meeting's review started at section 4P-7 and ended at P4-11.5 inclusive. Upon my motion, Mr. Burke's second, without objection, we decided to rescind all policies with the exception of P4-7.9 on medication administration, which policy will remain in place with the intention that the subcommittee will be reviewing a replacement policy at our next meeting. Policies for our next meeting then will be the field trip policy, hanging over from the last meeting, medication administration policy, and the Narcan administration policy or protocols. The next meeting is on May 3rd here at the middle school at Hamlet, room 124. The meeting was adjourned at 6:05 p.m. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thanks, Ms. Kepiscus. Any questions for her? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the policy subcommittee update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And finally, we'll go to the facilities, safety, and security update. Mr. Notoriani, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Facility Safety and Security Subcommittee met on Thursday, April 6th, 4 p.m. here at Hamlet Middle School, room 124. We had a discussion on safety and security. Specifically, we talked about our partnership with the Nonviolence Institute, our police MOA. We gave a progress update on that. We talked about the initial steps for ALICE training for next year for all of our staff. We reviewed our updates that we did with our building principals regarding our safety plans, communication protocols, our safety preparedness, such as the safety kits, safety sheds. We talked about security regarding keys, access control, and fobs, security cameras, our new radio system, and the high school security update for the door alarms and the gymnasiums doors. And then we talked about, for facilities projects, HVAC boiler repairs, the conversion of the ROTC room at the high school for new transition programming room for the next school year, the gymnasium floor at Vernon Heights, coral risers at the high school, gym windows and exterior wall repairs, the high school mural, which was, I believe, being painted this week, and emergency roof repairs at Citizens and Globe. And then the last item discussed was transportation, and that Durham School Services will have some recommendations for the next school year that they'll be presenting hopefully in the next few weeks to the administration and the full school committee. And that concludes the update for the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Notoriani. The one thing I want to say about the ALICE training that we've been talking about for several months now, that it's been very frustrating that this hasn't gotten off the ground. It's been false starts and restarts, and we're waiting for the police, frankly, to get going and come to us and develop a program and determine what we're going to do, because this has been dragging on for a good portion of this year. And both the superintendent and I voiced our opinions on that. And hopefully we can get this done and approved, and so that by next year, we definitely will have the training set up and in place.
I believe Dr. McGee spoke to me in the parking lot that evening and said that when he gets back, that'll be one of the first orders of business is figuring out what we're doing with the ALICE training with the police.
Yeah, it's priority, and it just hasn't, we just haven't gotten going on this, waiting for the boys in blue to get back to us. Any other comments? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the facility safety and security update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, I'll ask you, Mr. Notoriani, to give us the technology facilities update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the update for this evening starts off with, we have presently 21 work orders in the system for technology, which is on the low side. We're hoping to get down to the single digits. We're making steady progress. During the vacation week, our staff have been updating and pushing out iPad packs across the elementary and middle school grade levels for use for the rest of the year and the upcoming school year. The data staff continue to provide support around the usage of our various data systems. We've begun our planning for the summer programs, along with the rollover from the present school year to the upcoming school year. In addition to that, we are focusing on Panorama and moving on to, which you approved in the consent agenda, thank you very much, to move Panorama out to the high school level. We're currently looking at parent contact data to make sure we have accurate information in there so that we can make sure our notification systems are accurate when we have a situation where we may need to notify faculty, staff, or parents about an event, along with reviewing the teacher cost section student data, which is updated to RIDE for federal and state reporting. As of today, we have approximately 95 kindergarten registrations for the upcoming school year. So we've already have 95 registrations right now, and it's trending in the right direction. I think we're going to see a significant number registered by, I would say, by June. For facilities custodial services, the facilities custodial departments have 2 vacant positions. They've been posted, and we will be doing interviews next week. As of today, we have 93 work orders in the system, which is significantly down from the start of the school year, where we may recall we started with over 400. Presently, of the 93 in the system, about 2/3 are we're waiting for parts or vendors. The remaining ones are things that we need to do in-house with our staff. For transportation, as I said, for the facilities update, Durham is developing some options. They presented them to the administration. Mr. Perry and I sat in and listened to their presentation is what we can do to make changes for next year to make the transportation runs a little more successful. They will be providing a full presentation to the facility subcommittee and the full school committee in the very near future. We need to get it done or out to you as quickly as possible so we can notify the community that there may be some changes coming. Under safety and security, the access control units are being installed right now. Those are additional fob access on our doors. We already had the system. We're expanding it out. I'm hopeful that the installation will be done by the end of May. It's taking quite a bit of time for this vendor to complete the work. We're a little frustrated, but hopeful that it'll be done. And the radio walkie-talkies have all arrived. We've delivered them to Globe, Hamlet, and Villanova, and we will be delivering the remaining radios next week when school resumes. I did learn from the city of Providence, they contacted us that we're the first district in the state to have our own radio system, like district-wide. So they're looking to, they called and they're probably going to come visit us. But we're the first district to have radios that are on a centralized system registered through the FCC.
That's
so
great.
hopefully it'll improve communication for our faculty and staff and emergency responders. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Notariani. Any questions, comments? I'll make a motion to receive and place on file the technology facility update. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, we have no unfinished business, and we'll go into new business. I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the memorandum of understanding with Thunder Mist Health Center. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Mr. Perrier? Ms. Rapport?
This was presented to us.
You want to speak into the mic, please?
I don't have any firsthand knowledge of this document. Sorry, I reviewed it for form, not content. It was presented to us last week. So I can't really edify you on the substance of it. I can tell you that it satisfies our legal review, but I can't speak to the underlying issue.
Okay.
I was not involved in drafting it or in any way preparing it.
Mr. Notariani?
I believe this MOA is something that we've been working on and it plays a part in with the Nonviolence Institute and some of the good work that we're doing with our community partners around how we codify exactly how we're sharing information and securing services to support our students. As you can see under section 1 of it, it specifically outlines some of our partners and some of the work that they're going to be doing here in the district. So for those on the subcommittee, I know we talked about the Nonviolence Institute and the process we're doing. Dr. McGee, if you recall, has constituted not only our safety and subcommittee, but he also has he has a superintendent safety cabinet that meets every other Monday. And then the opposite Wednesdays, there's a meeting with the SROs. And I think this just layers in additional supports and formalizes that agreement, which is why it was sent to the attorneys for approval.
Anyone else? Mr. Perrier? Roll call.
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the memorandum of agreement with Bradley Hospital. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Mr. Perrier?
I can speak to this one a little bit more. I'm a little more familiar with this one. This has to do with the agreement that we're working with Bradley Hospital as far as providing instruction and really mental health presentations, as well as some other assistance with the youth mental health first aid. Now, you know, we did receive another grant from Bradley Hospital. It's another 5-year grant, And this is what that's going to be used here to kick that grant off.
Any comments?
Nope.
Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
and Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve amendments to the parent and family involvement policy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second with Vice Chair Burke. Ms. DeRiso, since the superintendent's not here.
In compliance with Title I federal requirements, the parent involvement policy requires an annual update. On March 3rd, a survey was sent to all parents in the district so that they can contribute information and revisions for the upcoming policy. The policy received a total of 45 responses to the survey. The 3 suggestions for changes, 2 of which involved bullying, which are part of an existing policy and would not be part of the parent engagement policy. And in addition, a suggestion was made to make the policy shorter and simpler to understand. However, the policy is compliant with federal guidelines and requirements, so we were unable to change too much of the language. So therefore, the major change that was made in the policy, as in many years prior to this, had to do with the date of the new policy for the upcoming school year.
Thank you. Any comments? Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve to rescind/update sections from the old policy manual, specifically P4-7 through P4-11.5 series. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Have these items been replaced? Are they in other policies? Yes, they are. Like
Well, been superseded by other policies with the exception of the one that's in
that you're
there
keeping.
with regard to the medication administration that was not rescinded, but will be discussed at our next policy meeting.
Perfect. Ms. Leclerc, anything? Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Now, the next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the Woonsocket Education Department's capital improvement policy. But before we get to a second, is this something we're going to be taking out?
Mr. Chairman, I asked that the school committee move to table this right now. We have some additional discussion that needs to happen before we can present something to the school committee. This is in support of our stage 2 application. Joe, just inform the school committee what's going on here.
Then I'll make a motion to table this item until the next meeting.
Second.
Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Leclerc. Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the school committee educational program, Woonsocket Education Department, Barryfield Elementary School. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke and Mr. Leclerc. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Perrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just part of the Stage 2 application. This was presented to the school committee as part of the Stage 2 application, but it's required that the school committee does approve this above and beyond just the approval of the Stage 2 application. What you're approving this evening, even though it says Berryfield, it saves Berryfield because that's how we submitted it to RIDE, is that we were going to build that elementary school on Berryfield. You are not approving a location this evening. I just want to be clear with the school committee on that. What you are approving this evening is the educational program for a potential elementary school to be built somewhere in the city. And that educational program was shared out with the school committee today. It's basically just a listing of all the classrooms, the square footage, and the usage of those classrooms. So that's what we're asking the school committee to approve via vote. Again, this is just a little bit above and beyond the Stage 2 approval that you did. It's the same information that was already presented. And again, we're just looking to kind of codify this with an official vote from the school committee.
Great. because the building committee will be addressing location once we get into the phase 3 of the 5-year
That's
plan.
that. If we get that far, yes,
When we
they
get
will
to
be.
that point.
Correct.
Right, so that hasn't been addressed yet. Any comments, questions on this item? Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the tobacco nicotine-free schools policy for first passage. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Burke. Should I turn it over to you, Ms. Kepiscus and Vice Chair Burke?
I think that my minutes basically provided the explanation unless people have other questions they'd like addressed.
I
have a question.
Oh,
Does that
please.
policy include chew?
It includes any tobacco product.
All right, just making sure.
Mr. Notoriani, it appears when I read this policy, I think it's state law that we should have signs, no smoking signs of, in all our at the entrances of all our buildings and on school grounds. Is there something that's happening to make, is there a process that is beginning to make sure that all buildings and all grounds have notification that smoking or that the signs comply with the policy?
Mr. Chairman, I was not aware of this requirement, but thank you for bringing it to my attention. I just recently placed an order for parking signs with, I think it's American Beauty sign, Mr. Oscar, I forget his last name.
Hancock.
Yes, I will be contacting him beginning of next week, and I will order up some no smoking signs as well. And maybe I should probably evaluate and see if there's any other signs that are missing. You bring up a very valid point, and maybe get one big sign order together.
Ms. Kepiscus, I can tell you got a comment.
I do. I have in further consideration of that, as I thought about it, why don't we have signs in any of the buildings? I think the reason we don't have signs that smoking is prohibited in any building in the state of Rhode Island. So is there really a need for the sign? My suggestion would be is that we need signs that clarify not just tobacco, but vaping, because I have seen those in buildings because it doesn't necessarily address the vaping issue.
Right, but even when in reading the policy, the materials for the policy, the law says every building should have a sign. So
I can
be
do
in
that.
compliance.
I can do that, and I think you bring up a valid point. Vaping is an issue.
All of it.
I'm aware of, here in the middle schools even. So we will work on, I'll be
all-
placing an order, Mr. Perry. You can expect that order sometime next week, sir.
It's not just the buildings, it's also the grounds. So if you have adults that are outside at one of our elementaries, the grounds. It's all got to be covered.
We will do an inventory. We'll look at that. We'll see what signs we have for that, because there are some signs up. We'll do an inventory for that.
Right.
While we're doing, I think we should probably look for the surveillance signs, because we're required to have those up with cameras. We'll put them in our playground areas too, because you're right, there should be no smoking there. And yes, and I've never seen anything about vaping, but I'll look into it. But I'm sure we could probably put some verbiage in there
Really
when we're
good
doing the
point,
signs.
Ms. Kepiscus brings up.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I
Vice
think
Chair
the sign has to be more than no smoking, because it does entail some other things. And Mr. Leclerc, just reading through the policy, I don't see chew tobacco listed.
It refers to tobacco-free, all tobacco products.
See, when I read it, I didn't see that
But there
either,
is a list
but I
of
did
all
see a
of them.
small portion that said something like tobacco products. But I wasn't sure if that was going to be sufficient, but going
It
on,
eliminates tobacco products, doesn't that include it?
assuming so, yes.
I mean-
That's why when she said it, I let it go, because I assumed that was there, but I think I did see it in there.
Doesn't state it.
Tobacco product is any product containing, made of, or derived from tobacco or nicotine that is intended for human consumption and is likely to be consumed, whether inhaled, absorbed, ingested by other means, including but not limited to that lovely legal term, cigarette, little cigar, or any other products.
I think other tobacco or plant product also has something to do with it. But I think it's covered, it's just not stated explicitly. But it's covered, so I'm good.
Do you want to amend the policy? Because we can certainly amend the policy to include that language if that's what you prefer.
I think it covers it. It's just a matter of, for some individual who doesn't read the whole thing, will say there's no chew on there. That would be the only issue, but it is covered. So I mean legally.
Vice Chair Burke, would you like to amend the policy to include it?
I wonder if we start with that, are there other things that we are also to be specific about where tobacco.
I think it's
It's all
covered.
covered.
Yeah.
I think it's covered under the tobacco and other products.
Ms. Rapport?
Yes. Oh, that's what I said.
Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the anti-hazing policy for first passage. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc and Vice Chair Burke. Ms. Kepiscus, do you think your notes covered it?
I hope they did.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Next, I'll make a motion to discuss and approve the memorandum of agreement with the Woonsocket Teachers Guild, Paraprofessionals Guild regarding pay rates for the 2023 summer educational services using ESSER funding. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. Mr. Perrier?
I'm going to defer to Ms. Dargan on this one. She can go, I can give you the layout. This is the same agreement that we've had for the last 2 years with the teachers. The same agreement. The rates have come down. We're kind of adjusting things back to the contract. So the hourly rates have come down for both the teachers and the paras. They're higher than what contractually they're obligated to be paid. So this is sort of a transition year back to get in line with the contract so that when we get to next year, we're going to be following the contract and this is going to be sort of a transition into that. So I don't know if you have any specific questions about that. I know Ms. Dargan did have one edit, and you can go ahead and point that out right now if you'd like.
So on page 2, on Roman numeral 3, there was a clerical error in A. Instead of August 215, it should have read August 15th, 2023, on the documents prepared to be signed tonight. If approved, those corrections have already been reflected, but I didn't see any other clerical errors in the process.
Are there any other questions regarding dates?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The dates that refer to February, are those intended to cover planning periods? Is that?
That's correct, Ms. Kepiscus. It's for a handful of people who need to do planning for the summer. That's why that stretches back into February. It's only a very limited number of people who are doing that planning, though. The real school work doesn't begin till July.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. Perrier?
Chairman Bourget,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Burke,
Yes.
Ms. Kepiscus,
Yes.
and Mr. Leclerc.
Yes.
Having no other items on our agenda, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:17 PM. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Leclerc. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.